welcome to another episode of the Lawrence Watson Show. Those of you who listen on YouTube, and judging by the number of views, it was almost all of you. Thank you, John, for the Patreon view, though. By the way,
well, I want to see how we did.
How many views was the YouTube video?
It was 86, I believe. John, 86 views. That's not bad. I assumed we'd get about 20. We did 86. So
I was thinking 4.
4.
Yeah, all 4 of us. And Doug didn't even listen.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so 3.
Yeah, you never can tell when maybe somebody comes across it somehow. But anyway, we're back with another episode, the Fireside Chat edition of the show, episode 2.
Coming to you from the living room.
Coming to you from John's living room.
Yeah, somewhere.
Somewhere. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about, I know it's been a while since we've spoken to you listeners. It's been a while since we've spoken to you, but the first story I wanted to cover was we did karaoke again.
Seems to be a common theme here.
Well, we did do karaoke again. It was my second time doing karaoke, and I was not as bad as the first time, I don't think.
No, you weren't as bad. That first time was pretty awful.
Yeah.
You were at least almost on key.
It was almost...
Or I'll say mostly on key.
Mostly on key.
The song sounded like the song was supposed to sound like.
Well, that's good.
So you can hang your hat on that. I brought some clips of it. No, I didn't.
Well, the funny thing was, so I could show Laura, I put the video up on YouTube long enough for her to get it.
Oh.
I was hoping it was.
And then I took it down.
Put it back up so I can listen to it in my car.
Yeah, there we go. All 30 seconds of it.
It was 51.
51?
51 seconds.
Okay, so you asked me to tape you.
Yeah, I did.
And then as soon as I started, I guess 51 seconds in, your phone storage was full.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there like, sorry.
Well, it's okay. I figured it wouldn't get the whole thing. I knew the data storage would
But at
be
least
a
I
problem.
held the phone up to pretend like I was doing it, Didn't want to disappoint you.
I didn't even notice until it was over.
Yeah.
The song's not that long anyway, so you got most of it.
Well, yeah. Well, you know what? You picked a Ringo song,
Yeah.
and you have a Ringo voice.
Which is to say, not very good.
You think he sounds like Ringo or quality of Ringo?
We'll let Lawrence figure that out.
Well, I'm not the expert.
Well, who is?
I don't know. But anyway, getting back on track, everyone did a karaoke song, except for Dave, the coward.
Yeah, I don't know what his deal was.
Dave's a wimp.
Yeah.
Well, he was also with a lady friend.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
not
we know
gonna-
she's listening because she told us she listens. So,
That's true, so we're not going to name any names here.
So we're calling her boyfriend that I've named,
I don't know. I mean,
or her man friend.
I don't know. When you're dating, I mean, how much do you really want to put yourself out there?
Well, it's the perfect time to embarrass yourself.
Yeah.
Although I must admit, the very night I met my wife, it was an open mic night, and where I usually had played with a friend of mine, and I didn't want to play. I didn't bring my guitar. My wife still insists that I totally wanted to show off, even though I love showing off. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the time. Well, I got roped into it anyway. So, but now we're married. So maybe Dave should have sang. Maybe not. I don't know.
Who
You
knows?
should have sang. Show you had some
He should have
balls.
sang anyway, but in my opinion, but
Maybe just one of those guys that doesn't like music.
Maybe you can't sing.
I can't sing and I still did it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
You have bigger balls than Dave.
Nice guy though.
Oh, the
Nice
nice
fella.
guy. Yes, we like Dave.
Yes.
Stick around, Dave.
After I've busted his balls there,
Don't drop Dave based on our podcast.
yeah, that would be a bad idea.
Exactly.
Speaking of songs, I want to thank our new theme song provider.
The band Good Ship Gibraltar.
I want to thank the band Good Ship Gibraltar.
not
You'll
their
see them
full-time
maybe
job.
somewhere, sometime down the line.
Sometime down the line, and we'll be sure to mention on this show.
Absolutely.
And obviously, you got a sample of their work because it is our theme song. We didn't make this up. And also, I will say special thanks to Ryan Mosniak, who gave us permission to use his work, and for Mr. Richie Panaleo for also giving permission to use his work. And for us, it's a huge favor. And
It is a big favorite.
especially we get to skirt copyright law, so that's also good too.
Yeah, maybe we should get a sound clip of Ryan agreeing to let you use the song just in case.
That's okay. I got expressed written consent,
written
by
consent.
Ryan Mosniak and the National Football League. So
How about
we're-
ASCAP?
Oh, shit.
Did we get Major League Baseball's express written consent?
Nah, just ABC.
Well, then I'm afraid it doesn't count.
Oh, well.
Oh, well, we're using it
Please
for
enjoy,
outlaws.
please enjoy our new theme song, The Battle Hymn of the Republic.
Camptown ladies.
I think we had a point to this story, didn't we?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did. The karaoke. Everybody sang. A great time was had by all. We were out until almost 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, and the great thing about... we should just do this just for material, because it seems like every time we go,
Yeah,
something weird happens.
we get a great story out of it.
And so last time we spoke to you guys, we told you the story of he dedicated a song to his mother-in-law, then told us to fuck off.
Yeah.
And
What a nice guy.
And before that, the fairest karaoke DJ in the city.
Oh, yes, we had that. And so now,
We really should do this like weekly.
just scout the weird places and
yeah.
see what happens.
Yeah.
But then I think probably another karaoke story, or just have a segment.
This is the karaoke segment of the month.
Why don't we just change the whole format and make it only about karaoke?
Yeah, there we go. Coming to you soon.
We'll have to ask our listeners and our 8 subscribers.
Oh, listener song suggestions.
That'd be
That's
great.
not a bad
And
idea.
listener
Yeah.
song suggestions for us to do a karaoke. And hold on. And
Or, that's the
that was
dog.
our producer. And if we can get video of it, we'll upload it onto the
Yeah. And then get it taken down because it's all copyrighted.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. So anyhow, this week was no exception. So the first guy to perform was about 70 years old, I would like to say.
Oh, at least.
At least 70. And only known by the name as Jimmy. Now, the first song that he sang was Elvis Presley's Can't Help Falling in Love, and so on.
Yes, Elvis.
And he is fucking nailing it.
Oh, he
It was
killed it.
good.
He
It was
great.
very good.
His voice like butter.
Yeah, exactly.
He was incredible.
Yeah, and it's an important song for me because not only is it a great song, it was also my wedding song. And so whenever I'm getting liquored up and I hear a good performance, I want to go thank the guy. So I did. And we spoke a little bit, went back, and we became Jimmy's fan club for the rest of the evening. Come on, Jimmy. All right, Jimmy!
We were all cheering.
Love Jimmy.
Yeah, love Jimmy. Huge fans of Jimmy. So what
Big fans.
yeah.
We should have him on sometime.
Yeah, Jimmy sings your favorites.
Jimmy sings your favorite standards.
But anyhow, it got to the end of the evening, and we're all about to leave, and Jimmy's about to leave, and I just wanted to thank him one more time for doing such a great job. He sang a few more songs, nailed them again, and as I was speaking to
Jimmy's
him...
not going to listen to the show.
Yeah, I know.
But we know he's not, but we
Anyone
have to
knows
put him
Jimmy,
over.
tell him we said Vix.
We have to put him over next time.
Well,
we see
well,
him.
usually these are awkward and weird performances, but this is about an awkward and weird moment that happened right now.
Mhm.
And I go and say, you did a great job, it was wonderful, and he said, hey, I don't normally do this for people. And he reaches into his coat pocket and pulls out a CD. And on the cover of the CD, it just says, Jimmy.
This wasn't a handwritten label. This was actually printed out
On computer paper.
on computer. Well, it was in color.
Yeah. And rest assured that Lawrence and I, we sure as hell listened to it on the way home.
We did, yeah.
And you still haven't let me borrow it.
Yeah, well, see me later.
We'll talk to you after the show, Jeff.
I need to make a copy.
I'll tell you. I will say this though, Jimmy thrives on a live audience.
Yeah.
That much became clear.
Oh, yeah.
Mm. Interesting.
And also a backing track that's not all MIDI sounds, but...
Yeah, well, you know, you can't hold that one too much against him.
Well, I mean, if you only got $40, what are you going to do?
Yeah, you know. But anyway, so that was our interesting karaoke story. The story of Jimmy, and he wasn't the only one who fucking was nailing songs all night.
No, that woman.
Oh my god,
she was
had
good.
some pipes.
Yeah, she was all right.
And then that's not somebody else I approached, like I said, and she asked me, what would you like me to sing? And I don't know about any of you guys, the listeners, or even you two here, but like it's kind of like jukebox stage fright, where you put your dollar in, you stand there going, what do I want to hear? And we actually settled on I Will Survive. And of course, she nailed it. It
Oh
was
yeah,
wonderful.
she nailed everything. Then.
That was a good choice.
And the funny thing about that evening was there was almost no audience. It was
Yeah.
Never has an audience.
It never has an audience, but there was even less than
There was
not
less
having
than there
one.
were the first
Yeah.
time we went.
Night before Easter.
And the funny thing was the guy that the guy who ran it made an observation. This is the smallest crowd I had in a long time, and also the most participation I've had in a long time because we're just you just keep on going back to the.
Yeah, everybody was. Yeah, let's go again.
It's like whenever the Jackrabbit doesn't have a line, you just keep going back.
Yeah, but that small audience is it's relative because it was about 8 people less than usual.
So, 8.
But I mean, it was a grand time. I had a great deal of fun last time, much more than I did even the first time. I think just because of how into it everybody was.
We're all each other's fan club,
Yeah.
and that was kind of neat.
Are you guys forgetting about the karaoke realtor?
Oh yes, we did.
What the karaoke realtor? I don't know this story.
There was the little kid that sang,
Oh my God, the little kid.
and he barely sang. He just went.
And then
And while he was, after he finished his singing, well, his mom sang after he did. And then, as the next person's singing, this little kid's going around to each table, handing out his mom's business card.
oh, so that's what he was doing.
Yes.
That's what I was singing at the time. I saw.
Oh, you
Because-
missed it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
God.
singing.
Because that's where you get clients willing to make a 30-year commitment, is at karaoke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd laugh, but it was so fucking depressing.
Oh, I missed it.
It was a little
completely.
sad.
A little sad. And then I initially liked the woman, but now,
Ugh.
and she kept the kid there. Let's be honest, way past his bedtime.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hawking business
They
cards.
should have. I mean, they should have had him sing.
Oh, and
Stayed a little bit and then left.
And then
Did
go
you
out.
guys notice every time someone new came in, he was handing out business cards to them?
I did not notice.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, and we just like, sorry, kid, I have a house. You know. Well, are you thinking of selling your home in the near future? No.
I wasn't planning on it.
That's why you don't say anything to people like that. Even
Right.
if it's a little shit kid.
Even if it's a little kid who doesn't know
tell
what,
him, you
what
tell
he's
him
doing.
to piss off.
He couldn't have been more than 5 years old.
I'd say about maybe 7 or 8.
That's what I was thinking too.
About 7 or
He
8.
seems so small.
In a bar.
Well, Level 20 is a restaurant. That's why he was allowed to come in the first place.
Right, yeah, but usually even places like that after 10 p.m.
Yeah. But I mean, she kept him there way too long.
Yeah, it's past his bedtime. Let's get home for the Easter bunny.
He's going to get up and hunt eggs in the morning.
You better get up. You're going to church in the morning. I don't want you crying.
That was
So,
like-
Lawrence, we do transitional material.
Yes.
Let's just slide right into WrestleMania.
Okay, we're sliding right into
WrestleMania.
WrestleMania. Yeah, it's this weekend.
Ooh.
Which I'm sure by the time I finish editing this, it'll either have already passed or we'll be right on top of it.
Well, I think what you should do is just make it your damn business to have it done before WrestleMania.
Yeah, I could just take it right home and do it tonight.
You need to get it up before so you can make some picks and see if they
See, I-
come true.
And the funny thing is when I had the show originally, when I was doing it elsewhere on our former hosting site, whom I won't talk about, but when I was doing it before, I used to do picks for WrestleMania. But now the show is 7 hours long, and I don't even know all the matches.
It's 7 hours long.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
How?
I don't even watch though. I don't like that includes pre-show stuff that they do and all that.
Oh, but
it's
still.
like the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they
And for all for the low price of $59.95 on
no.
pay-per-view?
You can get it for free.
Really?
Yeah, you can. I mean, I'm paying for it.
I don't think-
$9.99, but I'm paying $10 for it. But
Uh,
but you could get it for free.
So it's not a pay-per-view?
Well, technically,
How the hell do I get it for free?
you sign up for the WWE Network for your free month.
Yeah,
Oh.
contract 2 years.
No,
Free
Really?
trial?
Just free trial.
free trial month.
Remember to. Oh,
Yeah, remember to cancel at the end of the month, and you won't pay a dime.
oh, good. Look
I've
forward to
been
my
screwed
live
on this
tweet
before.
because I haven't watched wrestling since 1999.
There you go.
Which, so basically, I'm going to sit this topic out if you don't mind.
That's fine.
Unless you want me to lead you in really overtly, I can do that.
Well,
for
if you had questions you wanted to ask,
Okay, so Lawrence, tell me about your opinions on the return of one of your favorite WWE superstars, Daniel Bryan, and the Yes Movement.
well, the Yes Movement is just a catchphrase thing, but But I met Brian years and years and years ago, before he was Daniel Bryan, when he was Brian Danielson.
Was it in a high school gymnasium?
It was.
It's always a high school
Well, I'll give you that.
It was a high school gymnasium. I met him at the IWC show. I don't remember what show, but I know I met him at one of them that I went to, and nice guy, very personable. I mean that was really when I became a fan of his, because he'd been doing indies and stuff, I guess, for the past year or two before that.
Okay.
And he had a really incredible match with, God, I can't think of who it was. It may have been, Larry Sweeney, the late Larry Sweeney, another friend of mine. He may have been working him that night, or it was either that or it was Claudia Castagnoli, who's also in WWE now.
Oh.
But it was one of those two guys. But anyway, he would, after the shows, all the guys are hawking their merchandise so they can make some money.
Right, yeah. They ain't getting paid for that good
merch.
very
Well,
much.
yeah, the actual wrestling, that don't pay the bills.
I had enough money to get 1 6-pack of beer and 1 bologna sandwich and gas for the ride home.
Yeah.
Sorry to borrow a talk from our previous podcast, but we're just not that interesting.
Well, but anyway, he was real nice. I bought something from him.
At what level do they have the action figures?
No. It'd be cool if they did that. But no, they don't have the action figures at that level. But I think I bought a DVD or something from him and chatted for a few minutes because there wasn't that many people there.
You mean you didn't have to wait in line for 4 hours to see the guy?
No.
No, you just go, hey, liked your show.
Yeah, we bullshitted for about 15, 20 minutes, and really nice guy. So I've been a fan of the guy ever since.
At those kind of shows, you could meet all of them by just going into the locker room and act like you're taking a piss.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's funny you should say that because I worked a few indie shows years and years ago. It was actually to help with schooling and that.
You have to set up folding chairs.
I did not have to do that.
Well, then you're already on the second level at least, so.
Well, I was just working as an assistant to the booker because it tied into my major.
Was the booker crooked?
No, he was alright.
Seems like I just always assumed all the bookers were crooked.
Well, that whole generation is gone now. I mean, except for Vince. He's still crooked.
Oh, well, yeah, but he owns all of wrestling,
Well,
so
yeah.
what are you going to do?
But other than Vince, that whole generation, all those guys are long gone, and now it's just marks that are bookers now.
Oh. So I guess my question is, how did it end up that he's coming back?
Well, when they told him to retire, it was with that the concussion stuff.
Yeah.
And they found a lesion, I think, on his brain or something, and he had seizures.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty. And he didn't tell them he had seizures, so that
Because he still wanted to wrestle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody thought it was just his finishing move.
So anyway, when they found that out, they told him, "Oh, you're done." So he was done,
Yeah.
and they weren't going to let him work. And the whole time he was off, he actually had to come to Pittsburgh for all these medical things.
Yeah, well, it's a place to do it.
Well,
High field open MRI.
Well, the
I'm
doctor.
surprised I didn't see him on a UPMC commercial.
Well, the doctor who told him to retire, and the doctor who gave him the final clear, Joseph Maroon,
Okay.
is based here, and he's also the Steelers doctor.
So he's crooked.
He wasn't portrayed that nicely in that movie with Will Smith that they did.
Now, how do you define seizure?
Well, no, they told him he couldn't work anymore. So that whole time, right, he's going to doctors and saying, he's going to doctors and trying to get cleared the whole time. And he tried this therapy for brain injuries, this hyperbaric therapy, which is supposed to be really experimental.
Sounds made up.
Is that the oxygen tent?
It's they put you in like this hyperbaric chamber, and they pump the oxygen into you, and they over oxidize, I guess, the brain. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. He was doing that.
They say get out and walk it off.
Well, he was doing that, and he was doing all these other therapies and stuff. He went to doctors and said, I feel fine. And they examined him and said, yeah, you're fine. You can go wrestle. And a whole bunch of doctors are saying this, but he still couldn't get cleared by Maroon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Come this year, run the 1st of January and that, there was rumblings that his contract expired in September, and if the WWE didn't clear him, he would just go back and work the indies.
Okay.
Naturally, WWE doesn't want to part with him because he drew money.
People like him.
So they sent him to Maroon to do the MRI. He came back to Pittsburgh and did the MRI thing, and Maroon goes over it and says, I can't find nothing wrong with you. There's no scarring in your brain. There's no evidence that you've even had a brain injury. Your response times and all that are normal. They're just as good as they would be for somebody your age. You're cleared. You can work again.
So is this will be his first match?
WrestleMania will be his first match back since...
What, 2014?
2015, I believe.
2015.
Yeah.
Shouldn't he do a couple smaller ones and shake the rust off first?
If this were anybody else, I'd say probably that would be a good idea, but he's been... As far as I know, he hasn't ever actually left the ring.
Oh.
He's just been training constantly. As
Well,
far as I know. I don't,
Well, why even do that? Just be a manager.
Well, that would be a good position for anybody who can talk, and he can do a good promo, but they don't use managers there anymore.
Oh, come on. You need a Jimmy Hart.
Yeah, you need a pallbearer.
A pallbearer. Oh,
That's for your next podcast. Top 10 greatest managers in wrestling.
Well, the number one is going to be real like anticlimactic
Oh,
because it's everybody's number one. Everybody's number one is always Bobby Heenan.
yeah. There's other guys out there.
Oh, of course, there's been great managers, but I mean, it's always number one is always Bobby Heenan.
Yeah.
it's just anyway.
Or put Bobby Heenan at number 2 and then make it really controversial. Then your show will get some little attention there.
And pick, I guess, Cornette or Paulie or somebody.
Yeah. Jimmy Hart.
Jimmy Hart. Jimmy Hart wasn't too... There was a period in the 80s where, in Memphis, where Jimmy Hart, you'll get people to argue he was better than Bobby. There was once a manager in Memphis, and I know this is going way off, but I figure you guys might be interested in this. He did work for the WWF later as Harvey Whippleman, but in Memphis in the 80s, he had a gimmick as his gimmick was he was Downtown Bruno.
Downtown Bruno.
Yeah, Downtown Bruno. Now this is a spoof of he spoofed Bruno Sammartino.
Okay.
He even did the Pittsburgh accent. It was brilliant.
I don't know if Bruno really had a Pittsburgh accent.
Well, the whole thing was he called himself Downtown Bruno to spoof Bruno.
Okay.
But he's like he did the Pittsburgh accent and
Yeah, Downtown Bruno.
Yeah.
He's better not get hurt in there roughhousing,
yeah, he did the whole thing was so entertaining, because he was a small little guy and the way he talked up, Pittsburgh and all these tough steel workers and that,
Oh, okay.
That was his heat, and he got a lot of heat, so, especially down there in Memphis. That's how Shane Douglas used to get heat in ECW was all he had to do was wear his Steelers caps or wear black and gold stuff on, anything black and gold because they're based in Philadelphia.
Oh, no.
So all he had to do was wear a pirate cap or a Steelers cap, anything.
Boo.
But anyway, so WrestleMania is shaping up to be a good card this year, although a very long card. So I didn't make predictions this year because I'm not actually even sure of the matches. But I am looking forward to see Bryan back. And I'm looking forward to seeing the Ronda Rousey thing.
Ronda Rousey
Yeah.
in wrestling?
Yeah.
What's she doing?
She's going to wrestle.
Ooh.
Full time.
Wow. So she's done with the Ultimate Fighting?
I guess so. She'll be replaced by Brock Lesnar, who is leaving wrestling to go back to Ultimate
Does she
Fighting.
fight other chicks?
Well,
Or small men?
Well, no, I couldn't classify Hunter as a small guy. But they're doing a mixed tag team match.
Ooh, doubles tag team.
Yes, I suspect because, she's very inexperienced, and they're teaming her up with our fellow Yinzer, Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle?
Yeah.
He still wrestles?
Well, it's funny that they just brought him back to wrestle. He doesn't normally wrestle. He's not a regular. He's one of those once every once in a while things.
It's like a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah. Yeah. His last match was at Survivor Series, and they didn't have him do a whole lot. But he can still work in the ring, so that's really about all you can ask.
This is the movie star, Kurt Angle.
Yes, the movie star Kurt Angle.
I know a guy who was in... Well, I don't know him. I worked with him. Was in this terrible movie with Kurt Angle.
Did it by chance have zombies?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Some kind of cop movie, maybe?
Okay. The reason I ask is just...
Angle?
The reason I ask is just because Kurt was part of this this really terrible movie, Pro Wrestlers vs. Zombies, that was produced by Camera Bartolotta.
No.
Oh, you mean a state representative, Cameron?
Yeah, I do. I was just getting to that. She is a state representative.
Husband of a grocery store mogul.
Yeah, her. I think it's her aunt was neighbors with my aunt for ages, and not very nice people they are, I will say.
I got nothing to...
Yeah, we both worked for the Bartolotta conglomerate.
Of Giant Eagles.
John Eagle.
For those of you listening elsewhere,
Yeah.
grocery stores.
It is a grocery store, yeah. But anyway, he did that. She produced that movie, Pro Wrestlers vs. Zombies, and it not only had Kurt in it, it had some great pro wrestlers in it, like Hacksaw Jim Duggan,
Oh.
Rowdy Roddy Piper before he died, as John removes his hat in respect.
Oh, that's right. They can't see that.
Yeah, they can't. There's no video yet, I should say. Someday. By the way, if you guys Patreon, I know I'm jumping way off topic for this, but if you guys support the Patreon, the sooner I can buy equipment that will allow us to videotape our podcasts, so we can call them vodcasts.
Nah, I don't want video. I like doing it with no pants on.
We'll have a desk.
Yeah, anyway.
Desk cigars.
A great, nice studio, with the,
Yeah.
the egg crate, padding on the
Yeah.
walls.
Well, that was
And a live band.
That was Doug's suggestion, was to have the... Actually, it was off air, so it's not on the podcast, but he made that suggestion.
If
at
it was
the
Doug's
end.
suggestion, it was probably edited out.
No, we hadn't started recording yet. This was...
Oh.
Oh.
And if it
Here
had
we
been
are
Doug-
ripping on
if
Doug.
If it had been Doug's suggestion, I would have edited it off the show.
Doug's suggestion was probably also impractical.
Well, yeah.
With apologies to Doug for not inviting him.
Yes, with apologies to Doug. That's we're getting together without Doug. It's just John and Jeff here with me. Anyway, back to the quick WrestleMania discussion. I wanted to talk about a few of the highlight matches because I don't know the whole card off by heart and I didn't write it down. So after we've got the Brian is returning to tag team. There's going to be a lot of big tag team matches at this year's show with Shane McMahon.
Ugh.
I know he's a terrible worker,
We can just sit in the office
and I think it's weird.
and wait till Daddy comes back.
Well, because he's not going to get the company. That's a whole other discussion.
Wait, so he has to wrestle his way to the top?
Well, it's not
Got to
gonna
work
help.
for it, boy.
Is that how that works?
It's not going to help because Vince's daughter is also wrestling. So. But anyway, so Brian and Shane are going to work a tag team match, and I don't think I'm surprised they're even letting Shane work because he just came back from, I think it was a hernia and diverticulitis.
Ooh, that's bad.
Yeah,
Gross.
he just had diverticulitis and a hernia. So I don't know how he got cleared so quickly, but there you go. And they're doing a tag team match with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, which has been that whole thing has been the top angle on the SmackDown TV show.
And they'll be going for the gut. It's all messed up.
Yeah.
Ugh. Ugh.
You know what I'm thinking now is originally the plan was for them to have Shane do most of the match before Brian was even cleared to take bumps. What I think they'll do now is they'll just have Brian work most of the match and maybe tag Shane in for a hot spot here and there. And
Just long enough to get pinned.
Well, I think you may be right on that, because I think one of the stipulations or something for this match is if Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn win, they keep their jobs, or what if they lose, they're fired or some damn thing. One of those deals. So we'll see how that goes.
So they're going to win.
Yeah, I mean they haven't. I mean, if they were going to be fired, they would have been fired.
Right, yeah.
They wouldn't be working the biggest show of the year. There's I mentioned before the Ronda Rousey thing. She's tag teaming with Kurt Angle to take on Vince's other demon spawn, Stephanie McMahon, and her.
Those are
husband.
harsh words. No.
Well, I mean, if you were a regular watcher, I don't think they would be harsh words to you, because her whole shtick is that she emasculates every other male talent, every female talent, every other talent, period.
But you're talking about the performer, not
Isn't
the.
that just
Yeah, I
that's,
know.
that's the character.
I mean, yeah, but you know,
Maybe she does it in real life too, though. Who knows?
I don't know. I'm just talking about the character. You'd hate.
I'm sure they're well-adjusted, well-rounded people.
Probably. I mean, you know, you'd hope so. But then there is Vince, and yeah, there is Vince, and I don't know if he's all that well adjusted. So, but anyway, they're taking on Stephanie and Hunter.
I
And,
haven't watched wrestling in a long time. Is Vince still in a wheelchair?
I don't think so. No. I think he can walk.
Now, how long ago was that?
Jesus. Well, there was a couple of angles that they did have him in the wheelchair. I'm trying to think. The most recent time I think was like 20 years ago. So.
Oh boy. Did he actually need to be in the wheelchair? Or was it just...
I think yes.
Really?
I think so. I think that was when he had his motorcycle accident.
Uh-huh. Interesting. I thought it was just part of the, it's kind of
Well,
bullshit.
they did tie it in, but there was a period where he really did have to use the chair
Huh.
because he'd broken his leg, and then there was a short period where we didn't see him walking or anything because he pulled both quads getting into a ring, which is it's on YouTube if you want to see it. As the clip is, there was some phony finish to the Royal Rumble that year. This is about 10 years ago, I guess.
Phony in wrestling?
well, it's a schmoz finish where both guys go out at the same time or whatever. So there was no winner, so we had to decide a winner.
So nobody got fired.
Well, the thing is, Vince doing the character thing.
Bullshit is that everybody wins.
He comes running down, throws his suit jacket down into the aisle, dashes to get into the ring, right? Jumps up, and I guess he bashes both of his knees off of the apron of the ring. And as he goes to get up, you could see his face. He's like, like his face contorts into this expression of unimaginable pain.
I'm guessing this is the first time he exerted himself
Probably in a while.
since being in the wheelchair for so long.
It was probably a while. So, and
His muscles were all atrophied.
and he just loses. I mean, his legs go right out from under him, and they conduct the rest of the angle before they restart the match.
Oh, it was like the Summer of Vince.
Oh. I guess.
Muscles are so atrophied from a period of inactivity.
So they conduct the best part was they conduct the rest of the angle with Vince just sitting in the ring. And everybody's confused and talking to Vince, and he's just sitting there because he can't stand. His quads are gone. Anyway, but yeah.
Hey,
so,
but the man's a showman.
yeah,
Show must go on.
yeah, definitely could say that for him. So there was that time. That was about 10 years ago.
10. I think it was 20.
Well, the wheelchair thing that I think he was talking about was 20. Well, he asked whether he really needed it or not.
Oh.
And yeah, I think he actually did, because I think that was around the period that he had actually been in a motorcycle accident or something.
Oh, I see. I was out
Yeah, you were busy.
with our producer.
But anyway, yeah, so, and the quad thing was about, I guess, 10, 12 years ago. Anyway, there's Stephanie and her husband Triple H.
Triple H.
They're taking on Kurt and Ronda Rousey.
Neat.
Yeah. So we'll see how good Ronda is. She's actually been signed by the company for like, what, 5-6 months now, so we'll see how well they've trained her.
Yeah, this is how you take a hit. You fall over backwards.
Well, I will say,
What if she ends up hitting somebody for like she hits Stephanie in the face for real?
well, I mean,
And Stephanie will die.
well,
Because that's what
Stephanie-
she would normally do is just beat people up.
Ronda Rousey's
Beat up
one
chicks.
tough broad, you know.
Well, you know,
One tough broad, you know. Sorry.
on Monday, it's interesting. On Monday, she took a pretty good bump through a table. So,
No, it's a breakaway table.
well, of course, I mean they're all gimmicked. They're as gimmicked as the Honky Tonk Man's guitar.
Yeah. Unless you talk to Jake Roberts,
Well,
which we did this last time. So
yeah, we
Made out
did
of
that
balsa
already.
wood.
But anyway, she did get impressive height on the bump. I will. So she went up for it.
So she might actually be the next Brock Lesnar.
Maybe, but
In
Brock
re-
was a
in
wrestler
reverse.
first.
In reverse.
Yeah. So anyway, there's that match. I mean, the whole thing. I mean, you gotta have maybe Rousey win. You gotta have Rousey win, I think.
Well, yeah, you got to put her over a
Yeah.
little bit so people pay attention.
Plus, I
That's
think
just good business.
I think since the feud is really Stephanie versus Rousey, I think what they actually might do is they'll have Rousey tap out Triple H.
Okay. All right.
Just
So
to make
there's
it
that.
believable, right?
Well, okay. So anyway, the last match that really intrigues me for WrestleMania, and this is the last one I'm going to talk about because, as I said, I don't know the whole card.
Right.
But anyway, the one that really intrigues me is the AJ Styles Shinsuke Nakamura match for one of their world titles. I don't remember which one.
The European Championship.
Well, no, it's one of their world titles.
It's been a long time since I watched wrestling.
They don't even know who-
Intercontinental Championship.
That'll be defended. That's going to be a triple threat match.
Oh.
Yeah.
How's that different from a triangle match?
It's exactly the same.
Oh.
It is. Anyway, the AJ Nakamura match. I'm really looking forward to that one because that'll be a classic because those two hooked up a couple of times in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I happened to see what they could do on Access TV, announced by our friend good old JR.
Is that when it's on? Or where it's on?
It's on Access TV. It's like It's on like at 10 o'clock at night or something.
Really?
Yeah.
I might have to catch
But
that.
they are like 2 months behind.
Oh, well, still.
But yeah, I saw the AJ Nakamura match on that. It was a classic matchup, so I'm really looking forward to it. And the thing about it is that I'm actually surprised that they're allowing these two to have a world title match at WrestleMania just because of, well, one guy's Japanese and the other guy is small.
Yeah, what happened to the roided up freaks?
Well, you know,
Ultimate Warrior died, dude.
most of them died.
Turns out because they were roided up freaks.
Speaking of
can edit
roided
that
up
out.
freaks,
Yes.
You can die from that?
Yeah, turns out you
yeah,
can.
speaking of roided up freaks, one of the roided up freaks in wrestling was superstar Billy Graham. And he had
preacher?
What?
The preacher?
No, but it's interesting when I heard...
Speaking of people who died.
But the funny thing is, when I heard the preacher had died, my first thought was because he had been in such ill health, oh man, the wrestler died. No, it's the preacher. I was like, oh, I'd forgotten about him.
Well, he was about at least 1,000, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
But anyway, speaking of Billy Graham,
The wrestler.
yes, the wrestler.
Okay.
His theme song ties into our next topic.
Okay.
Because his theme song, he used to come out to the theme from Jesus Christ Superstar. And since we're just coming off of Easter,
Right.
the live version of Jesus Christ Superstar was on
On
NBC.
Sunday night.
NBC.
On Sunday night. Live.
Yeah, live.
Live.
Now, we recorded it. I haven't seen it yet.
What are you waiting for?
Well, I just haven't seen it yet.
Okay,
You
so...
should check it out.
Yeah.
Actually, you should listen to the album first.
Well,
So you
Well,
haven't-
I've heard much
okay,
of
so
the
you've heard
album.
the album.
Lawrence has
Okay.
listened to me sing the album along with the album.
Why would you put Lawrence through that?
Because he doesn't have a choice. That's
yeah,
why.
because I needed to ride home. So anyway, I'm fairly familiar with the story,
Right. Yeah.
and I've heard
most
most
people
of
are.
the songs. Yeah, but
It's in the Bible.
So
It's an international bestseller.
yeah, well, so I wanted to get your opinions on it. John. You were you were optimistic the last time I heard from you. The last time we spoke about this, so
Yes,
I wanted
that's
to hear
right.
if your optimism paid off. Did it pay off?
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part, yeah. I knew. See, now this discussion is going to have to be for people who are familiar with the album,
Okay, so
with the performances.
if you're not familiar with the album, hit the pause button now and listen to the album. Which one is it? The one who sings? Is it Ted Neely?
No, it's not Ted Neely.
No, the album has Ian Gillan from Deep Purple.
Ian Gillan from Deep Purple as the
Ted-
title role of Jesus.
Ted Neely was in the movie, and then pretty much everything after that.
Well, see, I knew that would get a rise out of you.
Yeah, you knew that. You knew that. Like Jerry Springer over there.
So anyway, hit the pause button now. Go and listen to the album somewhere.
It's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's absolutely
it's on
fantastic.
YouTube.
Great album.
So if you're not familiar with the album, go do that first if you want to.
You don't need to like musicals, because I don't like musicals. I kind of hate musicals.
My wife also hates musicals, but she did agree to watch it with me, and she
Oh,
loved
she
it.
did watch it.
Yes.
We were wondering if she would.
Yeah, she did. And
That's good.
yeah, it was nice. I built a fire, located some
Yeah.
wine in the house, and then we watched that together, and it was a nice evening. And I'm just full of restraint from not singing along, and I, for the most part, pulled that off.
That's
But
good.
so
Yeah, we had to have I watched it with the family.
Ah.
Well, not my
Your
mom
family
and dad
back
weren't there,
is
but
there.
Doug was there, and then a couple of aunts and uncles,
Mm.
and cousin, and his girlfriend.
Right.
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 So we had a no singing rule,
Which is
Even though
good.
I also would like to sing along, but that would be annoying.
Right.
Yeah, I have the same problem every time I watch like Blazing Saddles or something.
Well,
we want to give out all the lines.
First time I watched Blazing Saddles with my dad, and he just kept on shouting all the lines. We don't want the Irish!
Anyway, we were having a discussion about, we were about to start a Jesus Christ Superstar discussion when I had asked individuals to pause the podcast for a moment and go and have a listen to the soundtrack. And I wanted to know your opinions on it. You guys watched it.
Right.
I haven't seen it yet, so I can't participate as much in this discussion.
We'll go see it like tonight. Watch it tonight.
Well, we'll see.
Okay. Well.
We'll see. Well, I'll see it eventually.
Jeff and I are both fans of
Yeah.
that production in any capacity, but we're also fans enough to know that when people fuck it up, we don't like it.
I wouldn't say in any capacity, because I watched the British version and it was awful.
Well, that's what I mean.
So I watched like 5 minutes of it.
What
I
I'm saying
didn't
is
give it a
that
chance, but I
we don't
couldn't.
like it when people screw it up.
Right.
NBC, in my opinion, did probably the best possible job they could just about do. I thought John Legend was a good casting as Jesus because there were certain parts of that role where John Legend's voice really lended itself to a different dark tone.
I'll agree with you there, but I'll add that there were certain parts where he needed to hit a note,
Right, yeah.
and he can't hit it.
He can't hit it. Right.
He's a baritone,
But I think
and
his...
Jesus needs to be a tenor.
Okay, I understand that. We haven't discussed this yet, so
Fine, keep going.
we're on it now.
Yeah.
This is real, folks.
Go for it.
Candid.
And well, yeah,
John Legend's
I
a
agree.
baritone, and Jesus should be a tenor.
Yeah, thank you. And right, and I agree. There were certain notes that that you and I both know going into this that he just was not going to hit.
Well, especially the problem is that these notes were at really climactic moments, like after Judas gives him away, and he does the get out, but John Legend can't hit that note without
Right.
any force behind it, so he goes into a falsetto and it's get out.
And that's a falsetto regardless of what you do.
It is, but he couldn't belt it out, and
All right.
we needed a punch.
However, if you lean into I only want to say the first few bars, and John Legend's has a very I wouldn't call it a deep voice, but it's kind of like a purpley voice. It's hard to describe. But there
No,
are some things that really...
That was really great.
There were some things that he did were really great, and some things that you know that he wasn't going to be able to do. I thought whenever he hit certain points, and and it's a live performance, he was having trouble. He powered through them pretty well, I thought. But overall, I think his biggest drawback was that he was never an actor in musical theater, and besides high school. And so he didn't really... There's certain times where he's just kind of just standing around while everybody else is acting around him. And that was a drawback. And a few important notes that he didn't hit or tried to hit and couldn't, which, there were very many moments like that. But
No, there really weren't.
overall, I say it was good. Now, the highlights were...
Caiaphas.
Caiaphas was a highlight.
Caiaphas was perfect.
Caiaphas was played by Norm Lewis, who was a Broadway performer, and he had just that right. It's kind of half bass, half baritone.
They call that bass baritone.
Oh, good. Thanks.
No.
Having okay, and he didn't like a lot of times. In performances that I've seen, whoever plays Caiaphas just does bass the whole way through, and it doesn't really capture much emotion. Norm Lewis was excellent. The Judas was Brandon Victor Dixon, who's known for being in Hamilton, and Judas I thought was out of this world.
Oh, he was great. The only criticisms I give him were, one, he did sound a little bit overly trained. If you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, and whenever we're done recording, I will play for you Overly Trained.
Okay.
All right?
Well, to me it sounded that way because Jesus Christ Superstar, it's a rock opera, not a classical opera piece.
I understand
something
that,
like
but
that.
I thought he was excellent.
I did too. I thought he was. Excellent.
Thought he was fantastic.
And you know what? I thought the highlight of the show was him singing Superstar.
What I love about that performance, and this was the benefit that NBC had from having a live audience, because previously their live performances of musicals have always, or I don't know if they were even live, but...
Well, they were live.
They were live?
They're in front of a live audience.
Okay, yeah, right. They're in studios, and you hit a big number, and then just followed by silence.
So those didn't have audiences. I never actually watched any, like they did Peter Pan?
They did a bunch of shit. They never had audiences.
Christopher Walken.
I didn't know
Captain
that.
Hook.
It seems like it would make sense just to do that, but no, it's heavily produced in a studio where everything is tightly controlled so you can't screw it up. Well, this one was done on stage in front of a live audience and pretty much an airplane hangar almost, but
With a lot of scaffolding.
a lot of scaffolding, right?
It was. I wonder if they were building a set for something else.
But the cool part about Superstar, and this is the great part about having a live audience, was that when Judas nailed his final number, and whenever the audience is up and giving you a standing ovation before we're even done singing the damn song, you know you've done something right.
That's what kind of sucks about that number, though, because it's this upbeat song followed by, wait, we're not done yet. We have to kill Jesus first.
Yeah, you're right. But also, I thought that moment.
Everybody sit down.
We're not done.
So I believe that that moment, the last song, the track on the album itself is titled like John 3:19 or something like that.
Yeah.
And what did you think of their portrayal of the final scene?
I thought it was good.
I thought it was incredible.
I thought it was good. I like the way the cross goes out and then those walls kind of they close in.
We don't want to give too much away because Lawrence is right here.
It's okay.
Lawrence, earmuffs. Yeah, I thought it was great. But I thought the absolute highlight of the entire show was Sarah Bareilles' Mary Magdalene.
Yeah, she was really great.
She's another Broadway veteran.
My only problem with her, and this, like all my criticisms, nitpicky.
Okay.
During What's the Buzz, she doesn't go in. She doesn't do that really high part.
No, that's actually a Jesus part. I know what you're talking about.
No.
Let me try to quote it on your face. I mean, let me try.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Jesus part.
Huh.
Yeah. You didn't know that.
Well, then I guess I.
What, you guys didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that. I thought that was Mary Magdalene, Yvonne,
No.
whatever her name is, doing that.
Yvonne Elliman did it
Elliman.
first, and oh god, she was the standard, and now Sarah Bareilles is at least challenging her for that spot. But I thought she was absolutely the best. Absolutely the best. Now, I don't know if you did this where you were, but after she performed I Don't Know How to Love Him, I stood and applauded in this damn living room.
No, no one was standing and applauding in the
Uncle Tom's basement.
basement of Uncle Tom's house.
I stood and applauded.
I've done
What you're
that.
saying, it was performed very well, and you appreciated the effort.
Right. So, overall, the weakest portion of that performance, I would probably say, is a tie between John Legend doing a very good, but not spectacular Jesus, or Alice Cooper as King Herod,
I did not like Alice Cooper as King Herod.
because it was just Alice Cooper doing Alice Cooper
that's all-
stuff.
Well, he didn't do anything. He just sang the song
and
and then went
did a
up to the-
half-ass version of
and
the
then he
song.
went up to the crowd and said, "Hey, it's me, Alice Cooper," and then disappeared.
Yeah,
He did do a kind of a half.
There was one
He didn't
thing-
walk around and you know any kind of gesturing or anything like that. He just stood there, sang the song, and then he was done.
right, and that song is meant to be comic relief, and the overall, you know,
And he wasn't very funny.
it's not necessarily supposed to be funny.
Well, you know what I mean.
It's supposed to be a little bit.
It's supposed to be more of a show.
Yeah, it's supposed to be camp. That song is supposed to be camp. But the one thing I liked about Alice Cooper was, and I know it wasn't his idea, it wasn't part of his performance, but he did it anyway, was that this is a performance of a rock opera. He cued in the band himself, which I thought was like a neat little break of the fourth wall. You know?
I see what you're saying.
But the great thing about this was, compared to what I've learned about other NBC live musicals, which the music is canned, no audience, everything is just rigid and perfect.
You didn't see that Peter Pan special.
I hadn't seen it.
As far as perfect. But
Okay.
that's neither here nor
think
there.
I
You
did
can't
see
you
parts
can't
of
see
that.
this, but I'm using air quotes in perfect.
Yeah, but that's
No, but what I'm saying is that the cool thing about this production is that the music is live.
Yeah.
And the musicians are actually, instead of in a pit and out of view, they are on stage, not partially out of view, but not entirely. And a lot of times you see musicians interacting with the production itself. So when there's a big guitar solo, there's a guitar player doing that solo on camera. And I thought that was really cool. And also, a honorable
that
mention goes to Pontius Pilate.
Yeah. My only problem is Pontius Pilate only does like 3 songs.
Right, but he did them well.
But why did he lose his voice on the third one?
I think it was part of the
And once-
dramaticism.
Once again, it was another, big crucial couple of notes that he couldn't hit.
We're going to have to review this later.
Why is that?
Because we can't do it on the show, because it'd be an hour long.
That's true.
Or an hour longer.
We could do this all night.
I got time.
What we need to do is we need to get the tape and go
A live review.
scene by scene.
Scene by scene. We'll just watch it. We should just watch it together.
Do commentary.
We'll watch it together, and then we'll go. But that's not for everybody else. All right.
Yeah,
So we got that out of the way, didn't we? I'm not in the transitional material. So
That
let's
was
just
Joe
go.
and John's review of
Let's
Jesus
just-
Christ Superstar Live.
So anyway, I think this is a good spot to take a quick
Commercial break.
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
So we're going to have this commercial read out. I'm going to switch it on over to that. We'll be right back after this.
The Lawrence Watson Show is brought to you by Smith's Light Beer. Smith's. It's not bad. And by Clem's Liquor, Gun, Pornography, and Fireworks Emporium. Clem's. Next time, start your weekend right. Okay, well, it's Easter. Well, season anyway, so that usually means playoffs.
Oh yeah, so now that it's Easter season and it's April, even though it still feels like February out there right now.
Well, that's why we still get to have a firedeside chat this time of the year. It's
Yeah.
spring, for Christ's sakes.
Spring hasn't sprung yet, really.
Oh, that's terrible. Edit that out, will you?
How dare you tell me what to do on my program? In fact, it's snowing at the baseball game.
Which means it's snowing here, too, but we just have curtains on the windows.
Yeah. So anyway, since it still feels like winter outside, this is a perfect time to talk a little bit about hockey. We're all hockey fans, as we mentioned in the previous episode.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah, not
hockey
really.
playoffs are about. Yeah, we're going back to that.
You're wearing a Penguins shirt and Penguins hat simultaneously right now.
It's a coincidence.
Oh, yeah.
Another beer for the working man.
The shirt was free.
And so was the hat.
so,
And that's why you're wearing
The
them.
hat was a gift. The shirt was.
so
That's true, though.
well, yeah. So anyway, the playoffs are coming up. The Penguins just secured a playoff spot for the 12th consecutive year.
Not you really notice it, of course, but
Well, they're not as great as they were last year. They're not as strong.
But they have the longest streak right now.
Yes.
Longest active playoff streak, and I think by about double. Because I think the second longest is like 6 years.
Something like that.
Yeah. So go Pens.
Yeah, and all that matters is that you get in. That's what you told me when we were having a discussion about this one time when I wasn't so pleased with how they were doing. You're like, as long as they get into the playoffs, we have a chance.
Yeah, that's all that matters. But that means that all those other teams have a chance too.
Well, that's true.
Since the last time we did the show, Crosby had those two absurd goals that just never happen ever.
Yeah,
And not too many games apart.
actually, I'm going to qualify that as three.
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 Three?
I'm going to add a third to that one. Okay, so
Okay.
we saw one where he batted it twice out of midair,
yeah.
and it went in the net.
We
Obviously,
weren't weenie huts.
yeah, we were.
No, we weren't there for that one.
We
Yeah,
weren't
we
there
were.
for that. We
The
were
one
there
we were there for the off the crossbar, and then
Oh yeah.
That's the rebound out of the air.
Yeah. That's the one we were. There.
I don't know which one was more nuts.
We'll just say they're equally as nuts, but
They are, yeah.
I want to get my point across, and it was a Saturday afternoon game against the Flyers, nonetheless. And okay, so Sid enters the zone, he gets the puck.
Mhm.
There's a defenseman draped all over him, and Sidney Crosby, basically using his ass to fend off the defenseman with one hand on the stick, successfully gets him off the puck. So Sid does that for about, 2-3 seconds, using just his ass in one hand, gains possession outright, and then fires a shot and went in. And the fact that he is just fending off a guy who was ready for him
Yeah.
with his butt,
Yarmer Yager style.
one hand on the stick, and then puts it in. To me, that's up there with the other two. But we're only looking at the spectacular ones, but that was something that it's kind of subtle, but it was pretty
Fair
damn
play.
impressive. It was very impressive. So we are right now watching Sid score some of the coolest goals of his career. Meanwhile, I don't know, Murray is not quite looking himself lately. He's
No.
playing well, but he's not playing as well as we're used to him playing.
That's true. And the problem is that the Penguins, they don't really have a decent backup.
No, I think they have decent backups, but decent is about as far as it goes.
Yeah.
I think Jari is decent.
Yeah,
I think
you're not-
Casey DeSmith is decent.
Yeah.
what they
they're
need
not-
is the Matt Murray from last year to back up Matt Murray.
Well, I guess. But this is going to be. I mean, we don't even know who they're going to. I mean, we're
We don't know who they're going to face
at the
yet.
time of this recording. It's going to. They have 2 games left.
Yeah.
And Columbus, which is going to be the important one, and Ottawa, which shouldn't be the important one, but it might come down to that as far as where they end up seated as far as the playoffs go, whether first round, whether who they play. But
How did Ottawa do this year? Because they were pretty.
Oh,
they were
terrible.
They were terrible.
They're in a tank.
They were
And
pretty
speaking
favored
of-
last year.
Ottawa is right now the Pittsburgh Pirates of the NHL.
Sorry,
because-
Earl.
Yeah, sorry, Earl.
Because
who
they had that one good season.
Lawrence told us about our Canadian listener.
Our Canadian listener. Sorry, Earl. He is a Senators fan.
Well, then I feel bad for you because, well, we understand we're Pirates fans, and this is what happens.
We're international?
We are international.
Across the borders and in your home.
Well, we're international with Laura, too. She's listening from France.
Yeah, but we knew that.
That doesn't count.
That doesn't
Friends and
count.
loved ones doesn't count.
But yeah, sorry, Earl.
No, Earl counts. That's what we're
Well,
saying.
no, I meant sorry, Earl. Senators.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, well, we're Pirates
We
fans.
sympathize.
We
do.
like the Pirates anyway, and we understand exactly what's happening because ownership is just taking, can't do it. Sorry, can't do it, and that sucks. So Earl, find a different team
Or at least don't go to the games and
because
pay the money.
it's going to suck for about 20 years, and then be pretty good for 3 years, where then you'll probably lose another Game 7 against somebody else, and then it'll suck again for 20 years. So we're used to that in baseball. And for hockey, that's even worse because hockey's a much better sport.
That is true. I
It's a-
would
it's a fact.
agree with that. It's far better than baseball.
I wonder if it's better to be a Cleveland Browns fan because nobody's getting their hopes up.
That's true.
Well, I always felt that way about the Pirates. I never got my hopes up about the Pirates, even when they were doing well.
I did.
Well, see, I knew it would end. I knew it would end quickly.
Of course.
I always felt that way. It would end quickly.
Okay, I don't know if I told you this story before, but I don't know if I've ever told the story on the air.
I don't think
On
you
the
have.
air, sorry.
I don't think you have. No.
I was actually at the 2013 wild card game. That
Yeah.
was the Johnny Cueto dropping the ball and Russell Martin hitting a homer on the next pitch game. And that was the single greatest sporting event I have ever attended in my life. And I've been going to Pirates games for a lot of years, 2-3 times a year.
I've
No,
been
whenever
to-
tickets were free, hey, I can't make it down, or you want to go? Yeah.
I've been to 2-3 Pirate
Don't
games in
cost
my life.
But so two things that stood out from that game. The first thing was that you drink your beers before the game at some local bar, and then you walk across and get in. And this was an hour before the first pitch, and walking across, you could not move because there were just people everywhere. And the other thing was that I was with Doug, who is not here tonight. So
Sorry, Doug.
he can't correct my story anyhow. But
He's not listening.
We
We can
has-
take all
we-
the shots we want at him.
right. Well, yeah. Well, why not? He ain't here.
Yeah.
He's not going to listen. So.
Ooh, look at this now. Anyway.
Yeah. And so we had standing room spots, and we actually found a nice little 20-person fan club in center field, so you can see through the gate. And actually, it was a pretty good spot. But what I noticed was between innings, you go grab a beer, go take a piss, whatever you had to do.
Yeah.
Nobody was out. Nobody. Those corridors, those concourses, they were all empty. And that just showed you how much people really do care about that team. But the last thing I'll say, and this probably translates to Earl a little bit in Canada, is that I really just, in general, I hate that fuck you style of management where you don't care about the consumer, you don't care about the product. As long as their profit margins are what you want them to be, then you'll just do whatever it takes to get it there. And so...
Well, it's just good business sense.
Well, we covered this in the
I'm
last
sure it
episode.
is!
We
But it
covered
doesn't
this-
really capture the spirit of the thing, does it?
Yeah, we covered this in the last episode. Those
Yeah,
of
I
you
know.
who
And Doug's not here to argue with me, so
Yeah,
I
but-
can state my
and-
piece without
yeah.
being refuted.
Let's think about these owners. They're not sports fans. They're businessmen.
No, a lot of them are sports fans. A lot of them want to win.
A lot of them, but not all of them.
Well,
Bob Nutting.
you have Eugene Melnick in Ottawa. Sorry, Earl. And you have Bob Nutting here in Pittsburgh. Sorry, Pittsburgh. It's just the way she goes. It just... That's not what it's for. It's not meant to be that. You're not supposed to just be a sports owner and hold the team under the city's nose. And because what eventually happens is people stop showing up. And if enough people stop showing up, then your profit margins go down. What do? You move the team somewhere else.
That's what they'll do because
It
they'll
sucks.
never consider putting together a good team that people actually want to watch.
But
They'll go, well, yeah, let's try another market.
But here's the antithesis to that, and that is what happened with the Pittsburgh Penguins, because we sat through nearly, 2, possibly 3 bankruptcies
Yeah.
Yeah.
since we've been,
Yeah.
and we're, 30 years old, all of us.
Yeah,
so
30, yeah.
we sat through all that.
There was at least... There was 2 bankruptcies.
They're going to move to Portland, they're going to move to Kansas City, they're going to move here, they're going to move there.
Kitchener, Ontario
Hamilton,
was it
yeah.
Hamilton or Kitchener?
Hamilton, yeah.
Hamilton was another one. So 3 possible cities. Portland Penguins, Kansas City Penguins, Hamilton
Hamilton.
And
Penguins.
they were going to sell to that BlackBerry guy.
That was the Hamilton guy,
Yeah,
Jim
the Hamilton,
Balsillie,
yeah,
who
Jim
still
Balsillie.
is not allowed to buy a hockey team.
He's not allowed to buy a hockey.
He's not allowed.
He's
The league,
not allowed.
the league keeps blocking it. But anyhow,
Is that because he wants to move every team
To
yeah,
Hamilton.
yeah, to Hamilton.
to Hamilton?
That's exactly it.
Might as well move one to Washington.
But anyhow, we
Little-
sat through
little
all that.
Washington is what I'm saying.
Little Washington.
Yeah, Washington. The city of Washington, Pennsylvania.
Washington, PA.
So we sat through all that, and then we
Yeah.
had the Burkle and Lemieux group that
Thank God, too.
that bought the team. And what did they do? They didn't really care about dollars and cents so much as making a great product. And what happened to the value of the team?
It went way up.
Exactly. So what does that tell you?
And
It's better business to have a great product, doesn't it?
and keep in mind, too, a lot of people don't talk about this, but keep in mind, too, even after the Burkle Lemieux group bought the Penguins, there were still some rough years. There were still some growing pain years.
A lot of things had to happen
Yeah.
to make that even better.
And it happens. It happens sometimes that way.
And a lot of people point to the draft lottery of Sidney Crosby, which was certainly exciting and would have put butts in the seats.
Yeah.
However, I honestly think that a team with just Evgeny Malkin as your number one guy is still going to be a pretty damn good team.
Yeah, and we had Marc-Andre Fleury, too, and
Exactly, and all the guys that were.
Well, that was what 04 was when Fleury was drafted,
That's right.
and those were some. That was the dark.
The Dark Ages,
It
the
was the
X,
Dark
the
Ages.
X
They weren't-
generation, as they advertise it around here.
there was a period where just after we'd graduated high school and I'd moved into my first place, I could walk to the old Civic Arena,
Right.
and I could just get into the game for a few bucks.
About $20.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Right. I was actually going to school at Duquesne at the time.
Yeah.
And I was 2 blocks away. I went to 12 games that season, most of them for $20, some of them for free, and my record was 9-3. And it was, but that was when the team was starting to get good.
yeah,
And I think about February, you had to line up at noon.
yeah. This was I started going just before the big push was on, and I even went to games during the Stanley Cup years, but I mean it was more expensive.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was. Yeah.
But I loved going to Penguin games, and I could get into the games cheap at the time because
Right.
hey, I was a fan showing up, and you could get good seats for that $20.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and well, what's one thing you can do at a Pirates game that you can't do at a Penguins game? Go sit somewhere else.
That is true.
You buy a shitty ticket for the Pirates, and then
Wait
wait
till
for
the-
a few innings, and then go find a better seat.
And then no one stops you.
Yeah, they don't care.
No one bats an eye.
Yeah. Exactly. And
Oh, you in the mood? Yeah, that guy left. Go ahead.
And the worst part about that is that Pittsburgh really is. It really can be a large baseball market if they had a product that would serve it.
It could be a large anything.
So I
I'm
have
convinced.
I have a tough time classifying anybody that has a shitty product as being a good businessman.
Well, that's Jeff.
That is horseshit.
Well, you know I say that in jest.
Yeah, I know.
Because really, how long can you have a shitty product?
25 years. But I will qualify in that for not all those 25 years was Bob Nutting the owner.
No,
True.
Kevin McClatchy just didn't have it. He
Well,
just didn't have the cash.
Yeah, and even before McClatchy, the city owned the
The
team.
city owned the team, yeah, or at least a group of city.
A group of important people in the city.
The important people's club of
Yeah,
Pittsburgh.
that was
owned-
So were these
that was when the
councilmen or
Pittsburgh
something?
Pirates were going to relocate, and they had their problems.
right, exactly.
We've gone through several teams that have been near relocation, bankruptcy, all except for the Steelers.
Yeah, they never seem to have that problem.
And the Steelers were terrible for the longest time.
Yeah, and the Steelers were
They
terrible
were.
for 40 years. So
Yeah. Up until 1972, they were terrible.
Yeah, and then for a while after that, they were terrible. Like
in the 80s,
during the 80s,
they were
yeah.
terrible in the 80s. Yeah,
They weren't even terrible. They were just kind of terrible. They would still make a few AFC championships once in a while.
yeah, like '89, but
86?
terrible.
There's a few of them.
a few
Not
every once in a while.
Yeah, much less of a streak than the Pirates
Well,
won.
they weren't good in 1990, I'll tell you that. I know that from playing Super Tecmo Bowl.
That's a good way to find out. I think every podcast you should find a way to inject Super Tecmo Bowl into it because now you're 2 for 2.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty damn
Yeah,
sure.
you did mention it in the first one. We did.
I also beat Mike Tyson's Punch Out 3 times.
Yeah, we've that was an unintended topic of our last episode.
Oh yeah, it was fun though.
It was fun.
Yeah.
So
All right, so sorry Ottawa, and sorry Earl from Ottawa.
I don't know if he's from Ottawa, but
Earl who likes Ottawa.
Earl who likes Ottawa.
Um,
Because I don't know exactly where he's from.
we'll classify our last conversation on the topic of ownership,
Yes,
and we'll move forward to the playoffs.
yes.
So, Mike, obviously the big surprise is that Las Vegas
Oh,
is in.
definitely.
Oh, how about that?
And not only are they in, they have themselves a damn team.
They had the best season of any expansion team ever.
In any sport ever.
Exactly.
And
they came within a hair's breadth of the President's Trophy.
I know.
I don't think they're going to win it this year.
I don't
They're
think they
not.
are either.
Yeah,
I
they
think
came within a hair's
I
breadth.
think they're.
But they were they were number one for a little while.
Yeah,
I think they're going to make a splash.
They're gonna make a run.
A little bit.
I think they're going to make a run.
What I loved about that was
That's
that.
beginner's luck.
Beginners.
But what I loved about what went on with Vegas was so they had this thing that nobody expected.
Yeah.
The team is winning, and you have a bunch of people in Vegas that are, I think, a lot of displaced Northerners, a lot of displaced Midwesterners, and a lot of just people in Vegas that just excited to have a professional sports team. There's a
because
lot of
they don't have
excitement
anything
around the
else.
team
Yeah.
that they can finally have something they can call theirs.
True,
And
but
so
that-
they go.
But that team could have just completely bombed too.
Yeah, it could have.
They could have.
It could have. But
They could have.
They could have
However,
been halfway through this. The beginning of the season. Of course, you're going to get a bunch of people
Okay,
watching, but
but-
halfway through, they could have been having nobody show up halfway through if they suck.
No, you're absolutely right. But what I'm saying is, you have this excited group of people that want to go see them, and then you have this team that's actually playing way beyond anybody had ever expected them.
That's the point I was going to make. Was that they did so well that people keep showing up, and that's the best thing that could happen for an expansion team.
Exactly.
Like that.
Yeah.
Is
But
they
the
have-
thing was, and what I'm getting at is that the trade deadline, they could have trade away the few pieces they do have, get some picks, let this thing grow, plant the seed, water it a
Yeah.
little bit, and they said, we're going to try to win now. And
I
don't-
admire that.
They said we already
I
have a
admire
tree.
that. I admire that as well. And
I love the guts. I do.
exactly. And the thing is that, excuse me. The thing is that like they could have just easily said, well, we have a long-term plan here.
Mhm.
And that would have been a legitimate thing to do, but they decided to read what the fan base was doing. Everybody was excited. This team is good. They're going to make the playoffs, and then let's make a run. Let's just make a run. And to me, that caring about your product,
Yeah.
to tie back into the other thing.
You're absolutely right.
Okay, but Eastern Conference, who do you like?
Well,
In our hyper biased opinions.
well,
I'm liking Philadelphia right now.
you know, sorry. I'm liking Philadelphia, as he says.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, Philadelphia, who isn't. I'm pretty sure they didn't make the playoffs.
No, they did.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
I thought
did.
they were doing bad for a while.
They were doing bad the last time you start paying attention. No, they were doing great.
Oh.
Yeah,
They went on a swing of a run.
I don't pay attention to the playoffs.
too much of it.
It is 82 game season. Come on.
I don't have all day, you know.
I don't have 7 months.
I don't have 7 months of my life to give up to this. What the hell's wrong with you people? Who do I
Because
want- well,
right now Boston has overtaken Tampa.
yeah.
Boston surprised me because they were also doing shitty for a while this year.
Right. And
They went on a
their
hot
young
streak.
guys really showed up.
They got hot.
Imagine having like 3 or 4 Jake Gensels.
What did they have? They had a nice long winning streak.
They have, yeah.
Yeah.
They have, and they overtaken Tampa. And Tampa had an off year last year. Made the final of the year, the Eastern Conference final the year before.
Yeah.
Stanley Cup final the year before that. They were a team on the upswing. They had one bad year, and now they're Nikita Kucherov
Nikita Kucherov.
is. I think he's still leading the league in scoring, and he's absolutely tearing it up. And they have a lot of pieces, and they built their team on a lot of speed because that's what beat them 2 years ago.
Yeah. The Penguins says.
Malkin was right behind him for a little while.
He might still be in there.
In there.
But
He's in there.
He hasn't stopped producing because he's on a tear.
Tampa Bay really scares me. So, I mean, if we end up against them, it's going to be a really tough series.
Well, it's
Well,
going to
here's
be
the thing.
be like a couple of years ago when
Yeah.
they played Tampa Bay in the final.
We all like
Conference final.
the series against Tampa Bay they're always difficult.
But
it's
there's
like playing a mirror image of ourselves.
I was at that
You're
first
right.
game when Ben Bishop got injured,
Oh yeah,
and then
They put in
They
Vasilevsky.
put Vasilevsky, and I'm like, backup goalie. This
Who
is
the hell
gonna be
knows?
easy.
Nobody knows who this guy is.
And you go, oh shit, he's good.
Oh God, no.
Oh, he had one hell of a series.
Oh, sure
yeah.
did. Now he's their starter, isn't he?
Well, of course he
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Because what happened to Ben Bishop?
He went to Dallas.
Oh, okay.
But anyhow, so the thing about the Penguins versus Tampa is, if it ever comes down to that, which we don't know,
We don't know. I'm just speculating.
is that all we've seen Pittsburgh and Tampa this year has been twice, at least, Antoniemi in goal.
Yeah.
And
Ooh.
he was terrible. You don't know how that's going to go.
No, we don't.
The one thing, I have a degree of confidence in Pittsburgh versus Washington, which would probably end up being a second round if it comes to that.
I actually, I still I don't. Washington doesn't scare me.
The team is not as good as last year,
Yeah,
but
even
I think what might be the difference is the fact that Michael, or either Michael or Philip, I think it's Philip Grubauer, right now their backup goaltender, who's probably going to start the playoffs because Braden Holtby's been having a terrible year. The last game, I didn't watch it. I had to rely on the accounts of other people.
oh, that guy played lights out.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
And
I did watch that game.
So I think that might be a big difference because the Penguins have only had to face Holtby in the playoffs. The other thing is a team that I'm actually concerned about is New Jersey.
Oh yeah.
And the reason why is because every time I've watched Pittsburgh, New Jersey, and I've watched, pretty much all the times they play each other this year,
They also sucked for a while this year.
they sucked for a while, but they've added some speed. The one thing that I noticed more than anything else is that when the Penguins went into the attacking zone, Penguins, speed, on the forecheck, heading towards the net, is that they had no room to do anything against New Jersey. Is because they were just smothered.
It's a scary thing with an offensive team like the
I
Penguins.
know it is scary. I mean, I hadn't even really I should have, but I hadn't even really considered New Jersey until just now. Yeah, they're a scary team too.
They might do some damage.
Yeah,
They might do some damage.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, there's a lot of teams that are really, really good this year in the Eastern Conference. A lot of tough competition.
So you think it could be Pittsburgh, New Jersey first round?
I doubt it.
No.
Columbus or Philadelphia, the way things have laid out. I mean,
Yeah.
New Jersey hasn't gained a whole lot of points in recent games, but I think they might do some damage. I think they have one of the wild card spots, so they'll go either against Washington or Boston/Tampa, whoever wins out that top spot. I'm not too keen with the math right now. One of them might be locked up already.
We'll
So
have to
we'll
look
see.
at all this when we finish recording.
We should do our homework.
Yeah, that would probably be smart.
Well, the problem with that is that you do your homework and then you just go, actually, New Jersey, their goaltender, Keith Kincaid, has a goals against average. Then you start
save percentage.
then you start rattling out stats as if that matters.
Well, I mean, I'm just talking about based on like what I've seen. I mean, Tampa Bay. I've always thought Tampa Bay is a scary team for the Penguins.
I
That's
think
just
you're
my
right.
opinion.
I think they might be the biggest threat.
I think our view might be a little bit skewed because
Well, of course it's.
every time that the Penguins have played Tampa Bay this season has been the second game of a back-to-back, and 2 out of those 3 games, Antoniemi has been in goal.
Well, yes, but I mean, even still, I mean, if you just
And he is 2 jobs removed from that gig. So, what does that tell you?
well, that he was terrible, but nobody's denying that.
Right. So,
I don't know.
that guy won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Well, that was the whole reason they brought him in here is because he won a Stanley Cup.
He knows what it takes.
You let it, but and those games, what was it? The one game against Montreal that he played actually really well in, even though we won.
The 3-2 overtime win.
Yeah, where he played very well for Montreal.
We were at the Weenie Hut when we saw that one.
Yeah, that was annoying.
You're like, he didn't do this when he played for us.
Yeah, why isn't he giving up 15 goals this time?
Yeah, we're used to that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, speaking of the Penguins too, you discussed with me earlier, John. You had a point that you wanted to talk about, and that is the new play-by-play announcer for the Penguins, Steve Mears.
Steve Mears.
Now, my own opinion of Steve Mears as the new play-by-play guy who's replacing Paul Steigerwald is I think it's an improvement. I've never been a big fan of Paul Steigerwald, and this, honestly, I swear to you, this is not resentment over the Mike Lang thing.
This is not okay.
That's years and years.
I have an analogy for you. This is not the Shemp complex.
But I like Shemp.
I know you like Shemp, but
that's a whole other discussion.
That's a whole other discussion, right? But Shemp had to replace Curly.
Yeah.
Everybody loved Curly.
Yeah.
Everybody in Pittsburgh loved Mike Lang on television.
Yeah.
And Paul Steigerwald, for many years, was Mike Lang's color guy. Went to play-by-play on the radio while Mike Lang did television, and then they flipped.
Yeah.
Because our local television affiliate for the Penguins did not want to pay Mike Lang what he was worth.
And they didn't like him drinking on air either.
Well,
it's part of the charm.
That was the rumor.
That wasn't a rumor. Everybody knew that.
A rumor.
Well, I don't,
He never actually said, let me take another sip.
Okay, but two things happened. Mike Lang went back to the radio.
Yeah, he did.
Because the Penguins have a specific deal where the radio guy's employed by the team and the television guy's employed by the TV people.
Yeah.
And the TV people wanted Paul Steigerwald. And I thought he was adequate, and it was a voice that people from Pittsburgh are familiar with.
Yes.
And I thought he did a pretty good job. He had a case of extreme homerism in the beginning.
No, it was bad.
At least when he was on the radio.
He was on the radio. He used to listen to this back in the dark ages when when Steigerwald was still on the radio. If there was for any reason a goal was disallowed, every time Paul Steigerwald would mention the score after that, it would be 3-2, should be 3-3. He had to mention it every single time. It was annoying.
But he even did that on TV. I mean,
yeah, he did it on TV also. Yeah.
That was one of the points I was actually going to make as to why I didn't like him as our play-by-play guy. Was that incessant, constant homerism.
Yeah.
Now,
homerism can take several degrees.
Yeah, but well, look, it's okay in my mind for the color guy to be a homer.
Well, it's kind of his job.
Yeah, that's why it's like Myron Cope. He was a homer.
Oh, absolutely.
But he was also a color guy. He wasn't the play-by-play guy.
Well, but Homer is more about attitude than who you're rooting for. Because there's basically 3 stages of homerism, and the third stage being the worst. The first stage of homerism is what we see from guys like Bob Prince, Mike Lang, Myron Cope.
Yeah, all the great ones.
I want to see a level of homerism where the announcer actually gets mad at the home team. Oh, come on, what are you doing?
That's level 4, that's Dick Groat. And for all you Pitt basketball fans, that's, oh, come on, guys! But anyhow, so the best type of homer is a homer that is excited for the home team winning,
yes,
but also understands that there's 2 teams playing and excitement is the main deal. So Mike Lang was great at that. When the opposing team scores, it still sounds like excitement because something happened, even though it's not what he wanted to happen.
Excuse me, yeah.
Level 2 homerism is kind of what Paul Steigerwald did, whereas you let your personal team preference actually affect how you call a game.
It got in the way
to the point where it's 2 to 2, it should be 2 to 1 or whatever you want to call it. You can, but
but keep going anyway, because this
good.
will all tie back into it anyway.
Now, the worst degree of homerism is whenever you have a homer play-by-play guy that calls every player most of the time by their first name, and that's the worst. That is when you have Sid passes to Gino. Over to Chris.
Who does that?
Chris.
That would be Letang. Chris Letang.
No, I mean who announces that way?
Nobody that we know does that. But if you used to watch the old Chip Carey calling Atlanta Braves games, holy shit. Oh, it was bad. That kind of stuff. But that was baseball.
He's
so
just playing to the audience, you know.
But the great thing about Myron Cope was he was back at level 1, where you're excited whenever your team is winning, but if it stinks, you're saying it stinks.
Yeah, see.
And the Steelers have been El Stinko on 3rd down!
That wasn't a bad Myron.
Myron's easy to do.
Yeah,
anyway.
but I mean, if you grow up here, everybody does him.
All right, we're going to do Myron's, all right? I'll do, then you do, and then you do, all right?
Okay.
Okay, John, go for it.
That play, if you would have clocked it, it would have looked like a milk wagon horse ran a mile or something. It took so long.
Jeff?
I do short impressions.
Okay, go for it.
James Ferrier.
Okay, I guess I can.
Alan Faneca.
It's another good Myron Cope name.
James Beard. Well, I was talking once with Bobby Lane in the barn once, and he showed me he had this gigantic hematoma on his thigh. Now, do you know what a hematoma is, Tunch?
Yeah, I do, Myron. It's a bruise.
Even at lowly Indiana State, they taught us what a hematoma was.
Hey, Justin Strauss, he took my beer. I can't drink the sody pop. They ate all the spittle.
Well, now that we've completely alienated every listener.
Whatever.
No, we haven't. We actually only alienated Earl from Canada. And Earl, look up Myron Cope. You'll probably like it.
Let's not make any assumptions about Earl.
All right, fine, Earl. Do what you want.
Do what you want. Nobody cares.
Giving Earl the Gary treatment.
Yeah,
We still haven't heard from Gary yet, or Coach Rod, for that matter.
well,
So wait, though, every show we'll pick a listener.
Yeah, we'll pick a listener every show and just give him that.
pepper his
treatment.
name in once in a while.
Yeah. It could be another running gag. So anyway.
So it's actually listened, though.
Yeah, but so anyway. Well, we don't know if Gary and that listened or not. He may have.
Let's hope so.
I would hope so too.
Gotta get him on.
Send him a message on Facebook.
I'll ask him.
What we'll do is we'll have a panel show. I'll host it in my house. I don't have to do anything. I'll go up in the bedroom and watch Netflix. While Lawrence, Jeff, Gary, and Coach Rod
talk about
life in my living room. I'll come down and stoke the fire every once in a while, assuming that it's cold outside. So, Gary, Coach Rod, please comment.
You guys do have standing invitations to attend a taping.
Comment
So anyway,
via Facebook. Comment via YouTube.
Facebook,
but please, let one of us know anyway.
yeah, we'd love. Like, if you don't want to message me or I'm too hard to get in contact with, contact John.
Sure. I've given myself the executive producer credit for the show,
Yeah,
so.
but don't contact Jeff. That might annoy him.
No, it won't annoy me. I just won't see it for a couple months.
You're not a big Facebook guy. So anyway, the larger point I wanted to make before we've gone totally off
Totally off.
was
Totally off.
I didn't dislike Paul Steigerwald for the reason that is the assumed reason because of the
Homerism.
the homerism. Well, the disappointment over Mike Lang. Part of the reason I didn't like him was because he wasn't enthusiastic. After if the team was doing poorly, he would just sit there and announce in this monotone voice, and nothing ever got him up. Or he would just get distracted and start arguing with Bob Airy.
Right.
And you could tell that they didn't like each other. I mean, it was.
And
I remember when Bob Airy first got on the radio, and he just kind of sounded like a dummy. He never had anything like pertinent to say.
See, when Bob
He
Airy
would just be like, "Geez, that one rang off the post so loud, Staggy. I heard it up here."
Actually, you're applying Bob Airy to the original Phil Bork on the radio.
Am I thinking of Phil? No, that was Bob Airy, or is it? Am I thinking of Phil Bork?
What you told me about was Phil. That
Are you sure?
that story used to be Phil Bork whenever you told it.
Well, now it's Bob Airy. Big deal. Same thing.
We can edit that out.
When Bob Airy was first on TV, I used to call him Bozo Bob Airy because he just.
Well, I think he enjoys the bozo role
Well, that's fine. It's
because
just,
he's still kind of a bozo.
as we use a term that John Mulaney said nobody ever used anymore.
Oh no, John Mulaney was wrong because I've been calling bozos for a lot of years.
That term still has its place.
Yes, absolutely, But anyways,
we get off topic.
you could tell that he didn't get along with Bob Airy. He was bored half the time, and if the team wasn't doing well or wasn't winning, he wasn't he would just tell weird stories that weren't pertinent to the game. And if you're not looking at the screen and following it constantly, as I sometimes wasn't, I wouldn't be able to tell what was going on. It was just a monotone, boring conversation.
Right.
The only time you'd even have a hint that something was going on was if Bob got excited for something. And then half the time that
Actually,
didn't work
one of the
'cause he was
classic-
excited for everything.
Yeah, well, Bob Airy was actually kind of known. It was a YouTube video for a while. Gary Roberts, former Penguin, was with the team, and they just had a shot of all the former team members who were hanging out in Lemieux's box or whatever, and Gary Roberts was drinking water. The YouTube video was titled, it's not there anymore, unfortunately, but the YouTube video was Gary...
So don't go looking for it.
don't go looking for it, it's not there. But it was called Gary Roberts Drinks Water. And you hear Bob Airy going, look at Gary Roberts drinking the water! He likes that Fiji water!
Hey, I like Fiji water too.
Don't forget all the Paul Coffey comments.
Oh, yeah. Bob Airy. We're talking about play-by-play. Yeah, Bob Airy loved Paul Coffey. We mention him at least twice most games. He tied his skates really tight. He wore them 2 sizes too small. That's pretty much the beginning and end of it.
So anyway, play-by-play.
We're back to Steve Mears.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you guys think of Steve Mears?
I like Steve Mears. But I understand why people don't like him. Because we are used to colorful announcers. That gets back to the original point. But the colorful announcers that we're used to aren't necessarily 100% homers, but they are enthusiastic, but also realistic. So when the team is playing good, they're enjoying the hell out of it. Mm-hmm. When the team is playing bad, they're saying it's bad, but they're still professionals. But Steve Mears is too professional. He sounds like everybody else out there, and for us in Pittsburgh, we're not used to that. We're not used to people sounding like everybody else.
The Milo Hamilton problem.
The Milo Hamilton problem, exactly. And that's his 3rd strikeout, and that's the ball game. Oh, that's it.
There's no gunnerism there.
There's no, we had him all the way, or there's no doubt about it, or Elvis has just left the building.
That's my problem with most NFL announcers, is that they take the game seriously.
Like football's important. It's
like
not.
Football is important.
Football is fun.
It's not just entertainment.
It's great to watch.
A good, hard 3-yard run by
the
Curtis
outcome
Martin.
of the game really, really, really matters on a level beyond football. You know?
Can I do that? Can I do that my own impression since you mentioned that?
Yeah, go for it.
I heard a national announcer, and that kid from New England, Curtis Martin. He had a good, tough 3-yard touchdown run, and the announcer says, "Curtis did an excellent job." What the hell kind of description is that for a good 3-yard touchdown run? Did an excellent job. It's like, listen to biology teacher. Nice paper. He did an excellent job. See what I mean? Football's a passionate game.
So that's not Steve Mears. Steve Mears is a professional. But I mean,
Yeah, he is.
I dig it because it's not Staggerwald.
It's not Staggerwald. And
He doesn't sound bored.
No, it doesn't sound bored. But Staggerwald's a voice that people from Pittsburgh are used to. And
Yinzers don't like change.
that is true. But Steve Mears also isn't the colorful that we're used to either.
Yeah, he does lack a bit there, but maybe someday he'll.
I think if he would just
evolve into
let his humor shine, because we appreciate that in spades.
And keep in mind, he is from here.
Exactly.
He is a local.
Yeah, he is a local. He's from Murraysville, which ain't too far up the road.
No, so
I think by that jingling, our producer is telling us it's time to wrap it up.
I don't think.
Well, we've been at it for 2 hours almost.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't even notice.
Oh, so, that just flew by.
It did kind of. So,
Talking about it felt like forever.
I was just
Well, I know the demands on your time are very valuable, Jeff.
I'm not even getting paid. This is bullshit.
Yeah, support me on Patreon so I can pay Jeff.
Make my own Patreon.
It's called The Jeff Show.
The Jeff Show. Brought to you by
Jeff.
The letter A.
Brought to you by Lawrence.
The Jeff Show. Brought to you by The Lawrence Watson Show.
Sponsor of The John Show.
So anyway, I guess we've about had it for this episode.
I'll tell you what, we've been yakking for a while.
Yeah, there will be the The timer says we've been at it for about an hour and a half, a little more than that.
You got to pare that down a little bit, don't you?
Yeah, of course. It'll probably lose about 20 to 30 or so minutes.
That's okay. How about let's go around with our parting thoughts. Anybody?
Nothing other than it was a great show. And I hope why don't you guys go first?
Jeff, go ahead.
I thought the show was pretty terrible, to be honest. But
Uh,
other than that, it was good.
That was good.
I think that we didn't have any long monologues on usage, proper usage.
Well,
And we went through an entire show without anyone correcting anybody else's grammar. And Jesus, Doug, I'm sorry.
Well, he's not going to listen. You don't have to apologize to him. You can just take shots.
He might listen if he knows that he's not on it.
It's true. He might be like, "Oh, you're so good. You're better than me.
They didn't invite me on. What do
You
they
think they
think
could do the
so
show without me?"
Well, actually, his attitude was that he already heard it because he was there.
Oh yeah, that's right. He did say that.
Well, I didn't.
So he might
So he
listen to
wasn't
this
there
one.
for this, so he might actually listen to
Yeah.
it.
I didn't listen to the whole thing. I'll
And
be
Doug,
honest.
we love you. We just like to rip on you a little bit.
Yeah, Doug, you're a good guy. You're my friend. So
Welcome
anyway,
back on the show anytime.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it'll be within the next couple of weeks, months, years.
Yeah, we'll have you call in.
Someday.
Oh, that's mean.
Someday we'll have a thing where
Do a phoner.
we're like
Actually, whenever we start doing written stuff, we're going to use one of Doug's.
yeah. Well, Doug's a good writer.
So if we keep
Hey,
being
don't,
mean to Doug, he might rescind
hey,
it.
We don't write anything.
What do you mean we don't write anything? I've already told people that we've got skits and stuff coming on.
Yeah, that was on the
channel.
first show. Where you
That was part of the thing. It's not just the podcast. Is once we get things written and done and all that good stuff, we'll have skits, and that was part of the reason you would want to support me on Patreon too, so that we could film some of these skits, because some of them would do better than say audio. But
some of the things we thought of were more visual than others.
yes, and we would like your help as our audience. That's all we're asking. You don't have to.
It's
You're under no obligation
it's
to.
$2 an episode.
Yeah, the cheapest tier if you want to listen on Patreon. It does help me out, and I just put it right back into the show anyway. So
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I wouldn't pay for this, but
And I already did, so it ain't that hard.
So anyway, I want to thank everyone for listening. Earl, you were our Gary this time.
Yeah, thank you, Earl.
So anyway, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you again next time. And we're gonna go right to the outro again.
happy birthday, Earl.
So anyway, we hope you've enjoyed this episode 2 of the Lawrence Watson Show. So for John,
Oh, yeah, me.
for Jeff,
Goodbye.
as he falls off a cliff, I'm Lawrence, just so everybody is clear. Okay, I'll see you guys next time, alright? We're going to the outro now, bye-bye!